Ministers are considering changing the early years staff per ratio from one adult to every 4 children to one adult for every 5. Ministers say it will reduce the cost of childcare, but Salford nursery manager claims that relaxing ratios are just a distraction that could reduce childcare quality. Sophie Rumsby joins us in the studio. So, Sophie, what does relaxing childcare ratios mean?
Well, nurseries and other early year childcare providers have mandatory staff-to-child ratios set up by the government. Each ratio is different depending on the age of children. But now the government want to relax England's minimum staff-to-child ratios for 2-year-olds from one adult to every 4 children to one adult to every 5. And this proposal has provoked very strong reactions. Here is Kaomi Jones, the manager of Kids R Us Nursery in Salford.
I think it's quite ludicrous to say that it wouldn't affect anything. It's easy to look at a logistic and say a number is only one extra, but when you actually have that in the physical being, for example, a staff member could be needing to do a nappy and a child could have hurt themselves and then 2 children could then be having an altercation over a toy. If you're expecting that from one person, it's ridiculous. We are not superheroes and we can only do what one person can do.
The idea was raised under Boris Johnson's government earlier this year to help tackle the rising cost of living. But according to a survey by the Early Years Alliance, 98% of childcare providers said that it would not lower childcare costs.
Oh right, so how would relaxing the ratios affect staff and children?
Nurseries have repeatedly warned that relaxing ratios will be unsafe for children and would increase staff workloads. And this comes at a time when many staff are leaving the sector because they feel so undervalued. And after the pandemic, a lot of children are needing extra help with their social skills and speech and language. So nurseries are saying that if anything, there actually needs to be more staff per children. Here's Kaomi again.
I think we've noticed now more so than ever that since lockdown we are seeing the effects they're having on children. We are now noticing that they are really quite behind, and I personally think that trying to increase the ratios, you're going to have a bad effect on children and their development even more so than what we're noticing. It's going to put a lot more pressure on staff and nurseries, and the early years is kind of already just staying afloat. I don't think we need anything to help us drown.
And what are parents' reactions to the proposed change?
Some parents are very concerned. Lynn from Salford is a mother of 3.
My child suffers from verbal dyspraxia. So because his communication is very poor, it takes an adult a lot longer time they need to spend with him to get over what he's trying to communicate. Now, if there are fewer adults, it would be very difficult for the adult to spend that time with him. It's something you cannot put a price on, the welfare of your children in a nursery setting.
And what is the government's response to the public's reaction?
Education Minister Claire Coutinho said safety has got to be paramount to what we are trying to do, but at the same time thinking about the affordability of childcare is important as well. The government are yet to reach a conclusion on whether to go ahead with the plan, so this is going to be an anxious wait for nursery staff.
Thanks for raising this issue with us, Sophie.